recording?
Yes, you get to hear that.
There we go.
Right. All right, I think I've got everybody in. Okay. So, as usual, we're going to start off with a poll. There are 5 questions. There are 5 questions, so you will probably have to scroll through all 5 to get to the last one. Be sure to select one option for each question, and I will share the results with you after you're done.
So where are the questions?
We're getting it up. All right, here they come.
Okay.
What's an SPF?
That's Special Programs Fund. If you have Tech Track in your branch, you would be sending donations to AUW California SPF. If you had a scholarship program that you were also setting up an SPF, maybe your branch is a 501c4 and you want the donations to be tax deductible, you set it up with the Special Projects Fund. It's the fiduciary for any projects.
Because I do 2 things. I send it to the state for Tech Trek, and I send it to 2 different colleges who have 2 different managers.
Right, and you could do that because the college would be a 501c3 as well, and your Tech Trek would also be a program that you need to send the donations to a 501c3, which is SPF. So the state is a 501c4, so that's why we don't accept payments for that.
Yeah, we have both, a 4 and a 3.
Okay.
How should we answer that? If we have two answers.
So you have both a 501c3 and a 4.
Yes.
Well, we'll make a note that there's at least 2 branches I heard that said that.
Yeah, we have one too.
Secret? You're muted.
Yes, Laguna Beach has a 501c3 and has a foundation, and the branch is a 4.
Yeah, sometimes branches actually set up their own foundation or 501c3 to use versus using SPF, and others actually apply to be a 501c3 so they can take donations directly.
All right, I gotta be a problem child and ask another question. Our pool is every woman who meets our criteria at the 2 colleges, so it's thousands.
Yes, that's great.
But not 51 plus, I guess is the choice. Okay.
Yes, it would be 51 plus. It's over that. We're just trying to looking.
Order of magnitude.
Most of the questions are referring to scholarships and a selection process, and that's because this is a topic we haven't addressed before. So we're trying to get some information from those of you attending so we have a feel for what the branches are doing. For those of you who just joined, we're doing the poll. We're seeing about 25, the poll is showing 25 people answering.
I have a question about number 5.
Yes.
where it says, does your branch sell merchandise or hold auctions for fundraising? We had a very successful bingo fundraiser where we had a raffle. Does that count for auction for fundraising?
A raffle is different than an auction.
Okay.
It has different rules, so it wouldn't be. We're actually, are you selling merchandise?
Okay. Thank you.
What,
Uh,
what about a ticket to a movie premiere? Is that considered?
If you
A
sold the
fundraiser?
actual,
Ticket.
Carol, did you want to respond? You're selling a movie ticket.
Right.
Generally, there isn't tax involved.
Right, 'cause that would be similar to a service, so it's,
This really is addressing items that would be taxable. In other
Oh,
words, if you
okay.
went into a store, you would pay a sales tax on it.
No, okay.
So we have 28 on the poll now. And we probably have 31 people answering it. Give you a couple more minutes.
I won't be answering because there's another member of my team that's answering.
Oh, okay. Carol is going to be checking the chat and calling people at the end of the session when we go over the questions. Okay. Most people done? Anybody need more time? Raise your hand. Okay. I'm going to end the poll and share results. Can you see the results coming up? So if you look at number 1, the majority, as usual, is 501c4. We still have over a quarter that are 501c3 and a couple don't know. Scholarships. Still have, the majority do have some sort of scholarship program. Goes 17% directly to the recipient, 17% uses SPF, and 31% are giving directly to the college on behalf of the recipients, and 7% are funds the scholarship through a college which actually selects the recipients. So that doesn't surprise me that it's that low. Most, I think, branches like to select the recipients. The applicant pool, we have girls attending high school near the branch, young women attending colleges are 38%, girls and or young women known to the branch, 21%, and other. Approximate size, yeah, it breaks down pretty easy. The bulk in the 10 to 25 and 72% over 51. Now we have, does your branch sell merchandise? 41% do. So that's quite a good share.
We can't see the poll results. Only the initial poll results of 1 and 2 are showing. I don't know whether you can advance that slide.
I am.
You can
see it
scroll
now?
down.
Scroll down.
Oh, I can
there's a
scroll.
scroll on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you'll see it like there. Right?
And this might be a good time to just go ahead and mute yourself, just to keep the background noise to a minimum unless until we get to the open discussion or you want to ask a question.
Yes, we are now going into just the first element, and then I will bring up the PowerPoint. All right. Okay, I am going to go over where you can find information about scholarships on the AAUW California website. And it has links that go into material on the AUW National website as well. So we're going to go there. I've got it. So as soon as I type A into my browser, I get AEUW California. So here we are, the familiar page. Everybody can see this?
Mhm.
Branch Tools is the usual destination. And you can see when you hit Branch Tools, you'll have Branch Finance here. You click on that, and you see our 6 rectangles. This is how to manage fundraising finance. And these topics include more detail and links. So here, like this is the 502, you would link to the AUW policy on that to find out about scholarships. And this would give you the link to California publication number 18, which is an enormous amount of detail on sales tax. So here's the location on the AUW California site for that specific item. Then if you were still in Branch Tools and you wanted to get information that was presented on peer group sessions, you go in here, you go to Finance, and you'll see all the recordings and the materials related to the prior peer group sessions for finance for fiscal year ended 2023 and 2024. And this, it takes a little while to get it posted. We can't post it directly. We just provide it to the communications team to do so, and they post it. So I would say in 10 days, you should have this. All right. Now, I'm going to share a presentation. All right. So as we said, this is fundraising can be fun, but there are rules. This is our agenda, and we've already gone through this point. So now we're going through those topics that I showed you on the AUW California Branch Tools Finance. And this is a summary of it. If you want more detail, you can get that on the site. Here were your poll questions. And we have a description of this, so you can use the PowerPoint as a resource if you want to look it up again. And I am going to turn this over to Indrani, who is going to go over the donor and donor recipient responsibilities.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, fundraising is very important component for a nonprofit organization, and both donor and the organization have certain responsibilities. Now, what are the IRS rules for 501c3 donations? Contribution to 501c3 organizations are tax deductible. If an individual itemizes the deduction on Schedule A Form 1040, then full amount is eligible to be deducted from the taxable income. A donor taking RMD, which is required minimum distribution from an IRA, can also take a deduction from the RMD for donation to qualified 501c3 charities. For detail, please consult a tax professional for further information. AUW branch 501c3 status. The donor can write check payable to branch directly for any special project fund, which may be dear to their heart, and the branch's 501c3 status provide tax deductibility to the donor. Kathy, next slide. Now, what are the IRS rules for 501c4 donations? I have noticed that most of our branches are 501c4, including mine. According to IRS, donation to 501c4 nonprofits are not tax deductible for the donor. AOW branch with 501c4 status, the donor must write checks directly to special project fund in order to claim tax deductibility as a charitable contribution. Donation to AOW fund, contribution to the branch, whether it is 501c3 or C4, as long as it earmarked for AOW funds, are tax deductible. Next slide, Kathy. Acknowledgement to the to donors. Nonprofit 501c3 organizations want to make sure that donors feel appreciated and recognized for their generosity, because we want them to pay us every year. In addition, IRS regulations require that before a donor claims a tax deduction for charitable contribution, the donor must have a bank record, such as canceled check, or a letter from the organization documenting the contribution. The following are the required components of the acknowledgement. Cash contribution, as per IRS regulation, 501c3 organizations are legally required to acknowledge contribution over 250 or more in writing. And Kathy, next slide. The acknowledgement letter must include the following information. I'm sure some of you definitely are doing already, but this is just a reminder. A statement that the nonprofit is public charity recognized as tax exempt by IRS under Section 501c3, amount donated if cash or cash equivalent, the date the donation was received, and the statement that organization did not provide any goods or services in return for the donation, which is very important. Next slide, Kathy. Cash contribution was same. There is no legal requirement for gift acknowledgements for contribution of less than 250. It is recommended to send thank you note to all donors to acknowledge their support so that they can come back and give the branches every year. Examples, donation from branch members, they are always will give the fund. Donation from AOW Tech Track program supporters. Not necessarily the Tech Track moms, but some maybe community members who like the program and they can support the program. Donations from local small business owners. Next slide, Kathy. Non-cash contribution, less than 250, a receipt from the organization, showing the organization's name, the date, and location of the contribution, and a description of the property. These are the very standard things letter or receipt will show. Over 250 or more, a written acknowledgement of the contribution from the organization that includes a description of the property, whether the organization provided the donor with any goods or services as a result of the donation, and the description. Please consult a tax professional for additional help. Now, Carol will go over the sales tax. Carol?
You're muted, Carol.
Very, very polite here. Thank you. So it looked like about a little less than half of you do some kind of sales as a fundraising activity. And so therein, we have to consider sales tax as part of the activity. And so examples of things that would involve sales tax would be something, first of all, an event that involves a meal purchase, like a luncheon or a dinner. Also auctions, whether they're silent or live, and direct merchandise sales. Now, there are a lot of rules about what is taxable and what is not. Generally speaking, tangible items, things that you can pick up and touch and use, are taxable, but services and gift certificates are not. So Tammy, you had asked in the chat, would a grocery gift card be taxable? And no, it wouldn't. If you bought the gift card and you go to the grocery, you might use it on items in the store that are taxable, and so therefore you pay the tax at that point. But if it's some kind of an item, a goodie basket of things, then that would probably be taxable. Services, gift certificates, or a massage or something like that are not taxable. Another category would be a donation of, for example, the use of someone's home for a weekend stay would not be taxable. In terms of the meal purchase and food items, I would say be very careful, because the food items and the rules are really tricky. It depends what kind of food. Is it hot or cold? How is it served? Is it for takeaway or is it for eating on site? I know I was involved in a fundraiser where we had sodas and bottles of water, and sodas were taxable, bottles of water were not. So on the AEW California website, you'll see a link to something called Publication 18, which comes from the State Franchise Tax Board. And there's also going to be a link to that in the this PowerPoint from the show, that will give you more than you ever really wanted to know about how to categorize various items, whether they're taxable or not. My strong recommendation is that if you're doing anything that involves food and a meal purchase, that you want to either use a caterer or a restaurant or somebody who's going to sort those details out for you. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. And so an event that involves a meal is usually considered a fundraising event or a special fundraising event. And that is, you report these in a specific place on the 990 or on the CTTR1. And here you typically, you're having an event where the price that is being charged is enough that it's going to cover the cost of the event plus generate a contribution. So you want to separate what is the donor receiving that they're actually going to get, the fair market value of the goods and services, as separated from the contribution value. If some of the goods in the event are donated, the participant would still receive the value. So do consider that when you're telling them what their contribution will be. And one thing that we discovered last year, for those of you, the larger branches where your total revenue is over $50,000, if the gross revenue from a special fundraising event is more than $15,000, there's a special schedule that goes along with the 990. And obviously, if your revenue is more than $50,000, you're having to file the 990 EZ. And so there you need to do this Schedule G. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide and just look at example of a kind of event like this. And I just see we have a few questions in the chat, and we'll come back to those. So here's a typical kind of an event. It's an author luncheon. And we're anticipating 50 participants. We're going to ask them to pay $100 each for the event. And we've contracted with a restaurant to provide a nice lunch for $35 a person, and also a glass of wine that's going to be for $8 a person. We have a musician. or a group of musicians, that we estimate that is going to cost $5 a person. And needless to say, it's an author luncheon. So we're giving a copy of the author's book for $25 a person. That means that the fair market value of what the participants are receiving is $73. They're paying $100. They're getting $73 of value, so they are getting the opportunity to claim a deduction. And again, this is a 501c3 branch, so their deduction would be $27 a person. And you want to disclose that clearly on the information that's given out about the event. Now, as it happens, as we're working on this, someone says, well, I will cover the cost of the wine. I just, think it'll be nice if we have that. So the wine is donated, but the individuals participating are still going to get it. So it's considered part of the fair market value of the event. And the cost of it then reduces the fundraising expenses that go into it. So keeping those three elements, the amount that the participants are being charged, the cost of holding the event, and the contribution value, because you're going to report all three of those things on the various forms. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Oops, I think we, oh, sorry, I had my hand up, said wrong. Okay, so the sales of merchandise, such as t-shirts or books and so on, that does require the collection and remittance of California and local sales taxes on the full purchase price. And so that's regardless of whether it's, sort of a retail setup or an auction. And here's again where we refer to publication 18, and that comes from the State Franchise Tax Board, and it will get you quite a bit of information about how to consider all of the various elements in it. Let's go on to the next slide. So donations of goods to auctions for 501c3 branches, those are tax deductible to the donor, but the purchase of the auction's goods, they are only tax deductible to the purchaser to the extent that the purchase price exceeds the fair market value. Otherwise, the sales tax must be paid on the full sales price of the action, or of the item that is subject to tax. And going back to, remember, if it's a gift certificate or a service, then it's not taxable. But if it's a thing, then it is taxable. The California sales tax, when it's calculated, it will include whatever the local sales taxes for the city or county that's involved, and the state collects those, and it will transmit them to the local entities. Now, in order to do this kind of sales, you need to get a seller's permit, and there's two kinds. You can have a one-time, you're just having a one-time event. So you get a single seller's permit, or you may have it on an ongoing basis. My own branch, we do have retail sales at most branch meetings of t-shirts and hats and other things that have the AUW logo on them. And so we have an ongoing seller's permit. I understand that the easiest way is to register well ahead of time to get your seller's permit, because it takes them a little while to get that organized. And so if you register a few weeks or a few months ahead of your event, and then once it's concluded, I would say for the most part, we're going to be in the category of organizations that only do an annual report. We're not like Target or some large entity that's having to report kind of on a daily basis, so that the state is getting its sales taxes on an ongoing basis. All right, and let's see, do we have one more slide? No, we're okay. So let me go and just quickly answer the questions that are in the chat. So if you have a dinner where there's not a profit being made, is that event taxable? Well, if you're charging for the dinner, it probably is. So example, if you have if you're going to a restaurant and you're buying your dinner there, that the restaurant is going to be paying tax on it. So I think it would probably follow the same rule. And then Denise asks, if prizes in a silent auction, if I as a donor paid the taxes on the item I bought, sales was already paid. Yes, the purchaser of the item does still need to pay taxes on the purchase, because they've now conveyed it to someone else. Sort of in the same way, just think about it. If you have a car, when you bought the car, you paid sales tax on it. When you resell the car, they're going to pay taxes on it. Other expenses, such as decorations, posters, etc., yes, they can be part of the expenses of operating the event. I just put the musician into my example, but that would be, part of the expenses of running the event. So it's considered part of the value that the recipient is receiving. See's Candy, I actually don't know how See's Candy works. I presume that if you're buying them from See's, maybe they're taking care of the sales tax. I know that's something that seems to be pretty popular as a nonprofit fundraiser. So I would refer that to them. And if you have a dinner or luncheon that's catered at a meeting, again, you're going to count on the caterer to have paid the sales tax on that. As an individual, you can have a one-time sale without being subject. I don't believe it applies to nonprofits. When I read publication 18, they're kind of clear that, that sales taxes are going to be due on most everything. But I would say read that carefully. Caterers include the price in the person per meal. So that's, again, one of the good reasons to work with a caterer. So with Denise says she's ordering t-shirts and will sell them for the cost of the t-shirts. And you are actually eligible to buy if you're going to resell them, you're eligible to buy the t-shirts without tax and then collect the tax when you sell them. And that's, I think that's explained a little bit more in publication 18. Laura says See's collects the tax. Okay, there we go. If we buy takeout food for our luncheon and pay tax to the restaurant, there we go. Again, that's a good example where using the caterer or the professional that does that would be pretty helpful. All right, well, I think that's probably enough about sales taxes for now. We'll see if there's any more questions at the end. And now let's go to Kathy to talk a little bit more about scholarships. Also tricky.
All right, thank you. So scholarships, what is a scholarship? The scholarships, when you're looking at its taxability to the recipient, depends on the IRS definition. So when we get in the tax world, the IRS is calling the shots and saying, this is what is it? This is a scholarship per our definition that makes it taxable or non-taxable to the recipient. And the idea is, if any of it is taxable, then your branch really needs to issue a 1099 for the taxable portion. So that's why this distinction is important. And so this says all IRS defines scholarships as payments to a candidate for a degree at an eligible educational institution for eligible expenses. So what is an eligible educational institution? If you get into the detail on the IRS site, this kind of indicates, well, it has to be a degree program, but really the IRS is saying that it's a school offering higher education beyond high school. It is any college, university, trade school, or other post-secondary educational institute eligible to participate in a student aid program run by the U.S. Department of Education. And so that is generally kind of the institution that you're looking at. And I have added in a site a link to the U.S. Department of Education database where you could look up institutions. So given what's going on now, you better look up quick when you have a Department of Education. So all IRS requirements must be met if the scholarship is to be non-taxable to the recipient. The scholarship is used to pay eligible expenses like tuition and fees required for enrollment or attendance, or for fees, books, supplies, and equipment required for courses at the educational institution. So this is very specific to what qualifies. So if you provided a scholarship and it was to an eligible institution, and you said, okay, this is going to be a $2,000 scholarship, it is necessary for you to use, say, 1,000 of it for tuition, fees, books, these qualified expenses, but you may use the rest of it for any other expenses that you incur at college. And those expenses, which they're referred to as incidental expenses, such as room and board, travel, and optional equipment, do not qualify as non-taxable scholarships. So if your scholarship was split between qualified and non-qualified expenses, you would have to 1099 the non-qualified, and that recipient would need to declare the non-qualified on the tax return if they were required to file. So that is the section on what qualifies as a qualified scholarship and how that works. And we have discussed that before. This is kind of the new part, but if you look at the IRS rules and the AUW recommended best practices, which is in 502, policy 502, these are the items that they are really recommended and required. Use a blind process. Scholarships must be awarded on an objective and non-discriminatory basis. Identify a sufficiently large and definite group of potential beneficiaries. State the purpose of the scholarship. Many of us, look at it, we're AUW. And so scholarships are generally going to girls and women. So that would be the purpose. Let's say the purpose is to provide scholarship to young women interested in a STEM career or enrolled in a STEM career. So, you will have it in a purpose of the scholarship and the criteria. The selection criteria that are the determining factors for eligibility must be identified and provided to all the applicants. Obviously, you want to make sure the applicants understand how the selection is going to be made, so they don't waste their time if they don't meet that criteria. You need to use an impartial selection panel. This is really critical. No panel member should benefit from the selection of the recipient. Let's say I'm a panel member and I have a sister whose daughter is applying for the college. And obviously, if that girl receives the scholarship, that will reduce the college expenses that my sister has to pay. So that would not be impartial. You need to supervise the scholarships. You need to identify the reporting requirements and notify applicants of the requirements in advance of the award. So it's full disclosure to the applicants of everything involved, what the criteria are, what will be reported, and so they understand that fully. One of the key things is you say use an impartial selection panel, use a blind process, have a sufficiently large and definite group of potential beneficiaries. This is trying to reduce the risk that your scholarship will be seen not as a scholarship under the IRS definition, but as a gift to an individual. And if it's a gift to an individual, donations for this scholarship are non-deductible to anyone under any circumstances. So that's what those details are getting at. The other requirement is on oversight and record keeping. So you are required or recommended that you provide oversight to determine if the scholarship is being used as intended. Records of scholarship programs must be retained to demonstrate adherence to best practices if the program or status or tax deduction of a donor is challenged. Could also, that a student who received the scholarship says, can you, show me, give me this documentation so I can show that this qualifies as a non-taxable scholarship. So you keep the information used to evaluate applicant qualifications, information concerning the identification of the recipients, including any relationships between the scholarship recipient and the branch providing the scholarship, the amount and purpose of each scholarship, and reports concerning the recipient's performance and use of funds. So you want to make sure that the recipients understand that you're going to be asking for that, or it needs to be identified, or you're working with the educational institution and they are going to provide the applicant pool, and they're going to make sure that the information on the scholarship is disclosed. Okay. Questions. On the questions, Carol is monitoring the questions, and she's going to go over those first, and whoever the question is addressed to or topic will answer. But after we go to the questions, we really want to know your experiences, fundraisers that you've done, what were your reporting requirements, what successes? I mean, tell us about something that really was great at raising a lot of money. It increased your membership. It increased community involvement and awareness and outside donors, perhaps. And then challenges, and how did you deal with them? So those are our questions. And
so Kathy, there were a couple of questions about AUW Fund, and I'll go ahead and answer those.
Okay.
But then there are some really good questions about scholarships. So I'll let you take a look at those. In terms of AUW funds, because you're just serving as a pass-through agency for AUW funds. So if someone writes a check to your branch and you deposit it and then you forward it on to national, whether you're a 501c3 or 501c4, that is still deductible to the donor, and national will take care of acknowledgements. Again, I think Indrani makes a really good point. You can't ever say thank you too much, so you might go ahead and send a note, but the official no goods or services were provided, we're a 501c3 organization, that would come from AUW National. But that's you don't have to worry about AUW fund contributions. So can you see those questions about the awarding of scholarships, Kathy?
If you can tell me what they are.
Yeah, sorry, yes. So basically, if the institution, one person asks, the institution, gets the money, and we don't necessarily know what they're doing afterwards. So how does that interfere with our ability to monitor what they're doing?
You would specify it. So I take it you're working with a college that will make the selection. You do not make the selection. Is that the case?
So Sigrid, this was your question.
Yeah.
And
No, we're working with the college. They sort out the applicants down to a reasonable number. And then we have a panel that awards the scholarships. But we send one check to the institution for covering all the scholarships, and to their foundation, and then they in turn write individual checks to the students. We don't have any insight as to what that money gets used for. And in most cases, especially the high school students, they're getting awarded multiple scholarships at the same time from different sources. There's no way and the money is commingled. There's no way we can certify that they're using it for tuition or books or whatever.
So when the school is awarding it, because the school has an issue too, and they have to understand all the requirements for the IRS and what is taxable and non-taxable. So One thing you could ask for them to report is what are the group of expenses? They may say, okay, we apply it to tuition. We give them a debit card, or they can use it for books. So they're just getting cut a check.
Right.
Do they specify what they can use it for? Or they say, no, they don't?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
And I've been awarding at the same high school for 5 years, and we've never had that conversation.
Okay, so the high school awards it and
Right.
says, this is a
This is in the name of AAUW. Congratulations, yada, yada.
but the recipient has to actually use it to attend college.
Well, that's, the school has to keep track of that they actually go, but we've
Okay.
never had a case where they didn't.
Okay,
But
so they're
there's
going
always
to
a first
call.
time.
Do you specify in the award that it must be used for tuition or the qualifying expenses?
No.
One thing, because you selected them, so if you said we would like you to agree to use the scholarship for these qualified expenses, or to report back on how they used it. So if they reported back on how they used it and they said, I used it for tuition, books, and I bought a laptop, I look at it. You could check with a tax advisor if your branch is concerned about it. But if you buy a laptop to attend college, that's pretty much a requirement to attend now. They have
Exactly.
to, they can't get their assignments. I mean,
Yeah, they can't do
sometimes
any
they
work.
have
can't
to
do-
attend virtually. So it really is a requirement to attend and succeed in any coursework. So if it's using for those things that meet that definition and they report how they do it and they're all within that category, you'd say, okay, fine, this qualifies. We don't need to issue a 1099 because that, technically a person should be reporting all taxable income. They don't have to rely on a 1099. If they know it's taxable, they should report it. However, if you issue a scholarship and, some of it is non-allowed expenses or non-qualifying expenses, the branch should issue a 1099. So I think you want to try to get some representation from the student. If that's too complicated for the high school to do, just issuing a check. You've met all the requirement that your selection process was blind.
Right.
You know these. The school came up with a recommendation and they gave you the applicants, and you just apply. You want to state your criteria, and it's going to be somebody who wants to attend STEM or whatever your criteria is. And these girls showed evidence of XYZ that they were the top candidates for the scholarship. So it meets that. It's just what are they using it for? And you can get representation from the girls if the high school can't do anything about that. And let the girl know that, and upfront, that anything used for non-qualified expenses, and list what those are, they will receive a 1099.
My college
Okay.
doesn't
We would
even
encourage
tell us
them.
the girls' addresses, so we
Yeah.
know, we pick them and we know
on.
their names, but we know nothing. We can't even send them a
Right.
thank you note.
Right.
Or the other way around, whatever.
Well, the other thing is to talk to the high school and say, how do other donors handle this situation? Because the IRS technically said, if this isn't used for qualified expenses, we're supposed to issue a 1099.
Yeah, this is the University of California. This isn't even. This is
University of California probably knows the rules,
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
But-
they have to know the rules. So you could just ask the girls to represent that your scholarship fund from AUW will be used first for qualified books and so forth.
So Kathy, there were a couple of comments about selection requirements. One person said you can no longer say women and girls, open to all in California. Someone else says you can say women preferred. Obviously, I think we're in a bit of a state of flux on this
Yeah.
point.
Mm-hmm. No, I think AUW National's looking at this as well.
Yes, it's
That is
the
challenge.
largest funder of women's higher education. So
So, okay, so what's the answer?
You could say, you know, girls or women preferred, but I just don't know. Have any of you received an applicant from a young man?
No, we've asked the schools to select based upon our criteria, okay?
Yeah.
And they will send us the person. And we've always said girls, okay? We have specified, haven't
You
given
know,
them the option to do a male.
well, this is a really good question. I think, you know, it would help if we can do a little more research, and I can direct it at AEUW
Mhm.
itself and say, you know, this is going to be an increasingly bigger question. So how would we address it when we're setting up scholarships that are designed to go to young women? And AEUW issues, you know, all those graduate grants, and also that's all going to women. How are they dealing with it? It's the same thing. So let us find some more information on that. Yeah, Sharon?
I wanted to share, our branch works with a local community foundation.
Mhm.
And so once our recipients are awarded their scholarship, they fill out the paperwork with the foundation. And then each year, the student, during the time of their attendance, they will contact the foundation contacts them, and the money is distributed. And the thing that I wanted to share is that one year, one of our persons didn't use all of their money from, actually it was UC Davis, and the foundation received a refund of the amount that wasn't expended by the students. So the college actually kept very good track of how those funds were used. And I was kind of surprised to get the money back, but it just meant that we were able to use that for another student. But I thought I would share that it's very
That's
helpful
useful.
if you have someone that, or some agency that could be an intermediary, and then you don't have to do all the head work of trying to follow up and keep track of expenditures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if UC Davis does that. Does UCLA do? You know, the other UCs do.
I think they must all be responsible for keeping track. And I believe that when our check goes to the agency, they list the criteria related to how it can be used.
Great example.
That is a
Um,
very good example.
So there was a question about Nick Whistle and whether and I know we covered this in I think in one of the last peer groups.
Yeah, the government. Yeah.
So if we are sending someone to Nick Whistle, that's not considered a scholarship, right?
No, it's considered an award. It doesn't meet the definition, you know.
Because it's not the educational institution.
It's not an education. You know, going to a conference doesn't meet the definition of a scholarship. So when it's award, and it generally will be considered taxable. 1099 required. So I think
Becky,
I would like to.
And Karen, I see your hand too. So Becky, go first.
Okay, this is in response to the gender questions.
Yeah.
And first of all, we have several men as part of our AAUW chapter. And they're participating, and they're quality members. But what I wanted to bring up in terms of our scholarships last year, we awarded a student who applied as a male. She had graduated high school as a girl and transitioned, and then applied for a scholarship for our local community college. That's the college that we partner with in giving our scholarships, awarding our scholarships. And at any rate, I was on the committee, and we selected him as one of the recipients. So it's just an interesting dynamic. And I don't know that, although we are a we are a organization founded on women's equality. I think, though, that I think that by restricting the applicant pool to girls only, that I don't think that should be criteria for awarding a scholarship going forward.
I mean, that's very possible. I think that's where we want to get guidance, because AAUW National, which puts out thousands of grants targeted to young women, how are they addressing this? You know, under the current administration, the award you made to the person who now identified as male qualifies because the birth certificate says girl. But I don't think we're trying to get into those issues. We're just trying to give a scholarship to someone. Traditionally, it has gone to girls and women, but how do we handle this going forward? What are the questions?
Because we have men who support our goals.
Sure.
Yeah, we definitely do. The membership is not restricted to females. That's not a problem. You can have people that volunteer and participate in the branch, and they're officers of the branch. That's not an issue for membership. But we've traditionally given scholarships. Tech Trek Camp has been for young people identifying as female. So this now is a new question. If we set up criteria for a scholarship and specify female, does that work anymore? So I really want to get more information on that and feed it out to you. And it may take a little longer to get the Q&A document posted, but this is an important issue. You know, we'll put up what information we find. If it's not definitive because they're not there yet, we'll keep open on it. So we'll post what we have as a certain time, and then I'm sure we'll learn more later. So Karen had a question.
Yes, yeah, Karen.
Somebody had asked, did anybody have any problems with the preferred, et cetera, or awarding a scholarship to a male? We did, and we've always had women preferred, and somebody came new to a foundation. We give the money to the college foundation. The college foundation gives it. We were at the meeting and they announced this man as the winner of our scholarship. And we had later a hissy fit because that was not what we wanted. And we met with the foundation and we talked to the foundation, and they were as upset as we were. It worked out that the foundation then gave him the scholarship, said there was a little error, and they gave us back our money that year because we were very clear that we really wanted women only, but we said women preferred. So we worked it out, and they talked to their tax people and et cetera. The end result, to make this short and sweet, is that we could use women preferred. We had other selection criteria. It was not like the only one, but they had to be of the whatever 4 or 5 of it, because I'm still on the scholarship committee and I read the scholarships every year. So we've never had a problem since, but we had to do that. And the end result was that we're not the only people through a foundation that give a scholarship. Sometimes the science people give to only science people. Mm-hmm. A donor can select where it wants to go. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. If I wanted it to go only to people in animal science, I can do that. And it's just one of the criteria. I cannot, of course, give it to my child. That they really frowned upon things like that. Yeah, but I would say women preferred, because if you take a poll of your branch and ask your branch, do you want to use men and women, or are you committed to having women first to do it. And I think your branch would tell you which way to go.
Great. Sigrid, you had one more?
Yeah, to follow on with Karen's thing about criteria, we used returning students,
Mhm.
head of household, single parents, and that really narrowed it down to the pool we were going for.
Yep.
But also, Kathy, branch development is sending out a survey to all branches in February on this very topic
Oh,
of
great.
what kind of scholarships are you awarding? What kind of criteria do you use? What issues have you run into? Do you pick them? Does the school pick them? All the questions you want. And I'll have Becky contact you because we haven't finalized the survey yet, and you may want to weigh in on what we put in there.
That's great. Yeah, we're really trying to give a heads up on this because,
Oh yeah, this
you
is
know,
everywhere.
the selection process, you know, some of the things I've gone over have been in place or are in place, but the whole gender thing is really becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And, you know, are they going to treat it as discrimination or is it okay?
Yeah. And
So we'll have to look at that. So that'll work.
That's great. I think that is, I think we've covered most of the questions. And so I want to be mindful of the time to give some time to talk about fundraising activities.
Yes. Yes, I would like to hear, you know, any fundraisers that you've done you thought were particularly successful, fundraisers that, you know, it seemed like they would do what you wanted them to do, but didn't. So, you know, good and bad. This worked, this didn't. It's all feedback and it's all helpful. I do see there's another hand up, Denise. Yes.
Okay, I'm from Miranda, Moraga, Lafayette, and we do a lot in our branch, and our budget every year is $50,000, which is a lot of money to raise. So we used to get grants, and we're not getting the grants like we used to. So we've had to raise more money, and so what we've done is the last couple of years we did a silent auction with a party and a silent auction. And we raised $16,000 for that. A lot of headache because then we had to figure out the tax stuff, which sort of tipped a lot of people off. Because we figure like most of the items are donated and we already pay the tax. So anyway, so we decided, I'm president this year, so we decided, so it was a lot of work. A lot of work. We had 70 people there, but we had a lot of prizes, and so it was a lot of work to going out and asking people to donate. So what we did this year is we decided to have a raise the bar fundraiser, sort of a we can do it theme. And we started off in September and we ended in November. And we started out with a skit at our September meeting, and then we spent a lot of time talking about what we're doing with the 5 major pillars that we're doing and all the things we're doing: Tech Trek, STEM conference, and scholarships. We have a DEI group that does some things. And anyways, we have 5 things that we do in the community. So we were able to raise, and we had several of our board members who started off with a donation of $500 each. And we shared that at the meeting. And we also had a Tech Trek parent, give us $2,000, which really helped. So which sort of helped us say, you know, you ask your family, ask your friends. Let's ask the Tech Trek parents to support us for, you know, these are the parents, not the parents who are going this year, but the parents who went in prior years. And we live in a higher income area. So we raised $25,000.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it's we're gonna have a thank you party in a couple weeks. But so there was, and we didn't have to go out and get prizes. It was mostly, it was just a couple of us. I mean, I talked about it at every meeting. We had something about it at 2 meetings, September, October, November. And then we sent, I sent in November, I sent as president, I looked in our directory, we have 130 members. We had 90 individual donations,
Wow.
several at $1,000 each. Some with their required minimum distribution gave some money, but we had 90 individual donations. All but 8 of them were $100 or more. And and we had more than 50%. So the last month we had only 40% participation. And I mean, I know most of these women. So I sent personal notes to everyone that I knew could donate. Not, I mean, there are some that are too elderly or whatever, and I didn't know. Anyway, so, but everyone I knew could donate, which was about 30 more people, and they came through. I mean, they came through big time. And so, there was a couple of us who did most of the work, but it really, really, really boosted our organization. And the fact that we now have 60% participation from our members, which I think is fantastic. Like I said, all but 8 are over $100 each. So, it was just, I think, explaining to them the value of what we do, and saying, basically, we can't do it by ourselves. And we had about a dozen people work on the last couple of years where we did the silent auction party. And it was a lot of work, and we want to do the volunteer work that we want to do. We don't want to spend our energy raising money. So anyway, that was our success this year. And I just think, ask people for money. Everybody's afraid to ask people for money. But we did it and it worked.
That sounds good. And I have been president of the Beach Cities branch, and they had a authors luncheon and a silent auction. And I can tell you, doing it 2 years in a row, it's a huge amount of work. And the fundraising result wasn't always as strong as you would like. And it shifted to go out and ask for money of the members as well as the community. And it did very well. So it's a lot less work. Sigrid.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations, Orinda Moraga Lafayette. You're a 5-star branch.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well done. And you can see why. Our branch has done a literary luncheon for 35 years. And this year we raised over $50,000. And so now we've decided we have to get big time into organizing how we raise money. So fortunately, we're partnering with UC Irvine because one of our members is the advancement director for their new School of Public Health. And so we are going to do joint programs with them, which gets us into their faculty and staff possibilities, but also puts a more professional face on the way we raise money. And then she will connect us with other organizations that have money to donate, so we can ask those people instead of our branch members. Because just like Denise said, we're burned out on asking the branch members. There's only so much you can get from individual branches, and you need to go outside your own organization, but it takes structure to do that. So we're putting together a strategic fundraising committee, just like we have a programs chair and a communications chair and membership chair. Now we have a strategic fundraising group that we're going to put in place to make it possible for us to do this, not on a random ad hoc kind of way, but in a real planned, organized way. And that's what you have to do if you decide you are going to be a branch that's in the fundraising business. Not every branch wants to do that. Not every branch has the manpower to do that. But if you do, you have to make the leap.
Very good. That's a good idea. I do think branches look at going back to the same people over and over with multiple asks can be a tough sell. So anybody else want to share? Anything, any fundraisers that were really useful in increasing membership? Because we thought, you know, it's not just raising funds, although that's a very important part, but if you can go out and have an event that increases membership, that can be great too. Randy? Randy, did you have a?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I had trouble getting there. Yeah, we had this great little event. It was called Death by Chocolate. And it was a bingo game. And so we had to get a permit from the city, which we got. And all of our section groups made baskets of, like, so a big book group might make a basket around the books we've read, and cultural cuisine had different specialty items, from the grocery stores. And we had a whole bunch. I think we had 15 baskets that we raffled at the same time. And then for bingo, all of our prizes were chocolate. So each prize was about $20. We charged, what did we charge? $25 to get into the bingo game. And it was just so much fun. We decorated, like it was on Day of the Dead. So we decorated for Day of the Dead. And one of the great things is that a lot of the community came. Our members came, but a lot of the community. So, and then somebody donated some wine. And so, this was really cool. Instead of just having, people pay money for the wine, we wrapped them up and covered them up so they couldn't see what they were. So they were mystery wine bottles. So you would buy a bottle of wine and you wouldn't know what it was. So that was really fun. And Becky Donovan is here too. She might want to say a few words about this, but we raised about $3,000. It's the first time we've done it. We learned a lot. We made some mistakes, but next year we'll do even better.
And people were asking us, please do this again. They had a great time. One of the thing about the wine was gifted to us, was donated to us. These were nice bottles of wine. And what we did was we had a whole list of what the different bottles were. So yes, you were paying whatever it was to get, $20 to get a bottle of wine, but it wasn't going to be $2 Chuck. It was going to be one of the bottles listed on the sheet, so that anybody who was a wine drinker would say, "Ooh, boy, I'll pay $20 because these wines are worth, anywhere between 20 and 50 or whatever it was." So it was an extremely successful fundraiser, and the fact that people were saying at the end, they were saying, yes, I want to come back next year. And in addition to that, all of us who worked it, whatever our job was to put the event on, we all had a great time. That night was extremely successful. And by the way, Randy was the person who really pushed to get it going. Death by Chocolate Bingo, it was great. And although $3,000, particularly compared to the woman who just spoke about raising $10,000, $15,000, $3,000 for our AAUW, that was really good. We would love to have done more, and I hope that we will next year. But I think that we all felt very good about that fundraiser.
Sounds like a real positive experience for the whole branch.
It was.
Able to add new members? Did some of the
Yes.
wonderful.
Yeah, there were a few people who joined from that. Yeah.
That's worth a lot too.
Yep.
So there was a question that I actually early on somebody asked about raffles, and raffles they're not they're not taxable, but you do have to report on them differently because they are considered gambling. And so Laura is asking for the bingo, did you have to get a permit for that? I presume the
Yes.
answer is yes, yeah.
Randy, you answer that. Yeah, that's an excellent question.
Well, yeah, we got a permit through the city for the bingo. However, the raffle thing, it just, getting permission didn't fit into our timeline. So we did the raffle and we made a note that next year we have to apply for that permit, I think
Yeah.
through the state.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we did was we didn't call it a raffle. I've forgotten, Randy, what we called it. It was something that
Opportunity drawing. I don't know if,
whatever
Yeah.
we did. I mean, so we still had it. It was still
Yeah.
the same type of idea, but we didn't. We told all the people working it, it's not a raffle. It's a basket giveaway or whatever.
Opportunity basket.
So again, there is information about how to do raffles again on our California state website. So
Right,
yes.
you just follow that, you just file the report by the deadline of raffles you think you're gonna have. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna do this event again, you just get that application. It's not really application, you're not waiting for the permission, you're just telling you're going to do it. And then after you do it, you report the result. So.
Yeah. So I want to add one more thing that was Becky's idea, that we don't just sell tickets for the raffle. We say, I think the tickets were $1 each, but if you buy your height and tickets, you could get your height and tickets for $20. And for most people, that was a real bargain.
That is a good one.
Standing at the door measuring people with raffle tickets. It was fun.
It was. That worked out well. Another thing that we learned from our Death by Chocolate, and I recommend it to other people as well, putting on events, is not only sell tickets at the door, sell them ahead of time.
Oh,
Because,
definitely.
yeah, by selling them ahead of time, you can sell a lot more. Not all of those, all those people may not show up. That's their choice at that particular day. But particularly, where we had it was kind of we were donated a bingo hall of sorts, but it was off the main drag. So, we couldn't expect to get any drop-ins. Anyway, it worked out really well to pre-sell the tickets and then also to do your raffle tickets by your height. That was fun.
Just remember, you cannot do a credit card or a PayPal for those raffle tickets.
Oh,
Oh,
make a note.
Yeah, it says when you sign up, you get all the crazy rules, and you also have to do a report at the end of the year how much money you made and where it went, and that none of the officers put it in their pocket.
oh, right. Okay. Good point. Good to know. Thank you.
Laura, you
Okay.
have your hand up.
Yes, do we for bingo, do you have to do that state form where, is that considered a raffle or not?
Bingo is a raffle.
So we were just required to get a permit from the city. And so we had a year's permit and we could do a bingo. I think it gave us 6 times to do a bingo, even though we only planned to do it once.
Okay, but what about the state requirement for raffles? And what I'm trying to find out. There's
Oh.
a form,
Does the state consider bingo?
a raffle.
A
exactly.
raffle? No, I don't think so. It's an event.
But what's interesting is that we couldn't have anybody who was under 18. So
Yeah.
I think that maybe they do consider bingo.
Consider it gambling and therefore
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
raffle.
Yeah.
So is bingo considered gambling? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you need to you need to get that state form to apply to have that event, correct?
No, it was through the city.
No, because there's one on the state as well. I'm talking specifically about that one. Our city doesn't necessarily have those requirements, but the state
Oh.
has a requirement. I
Well,
thought.
we didn't know that.
Okay,
Nobody
but that's
told
what
us
I'm
about that
asking.
one.
We will look into that and
Yeah, that's
add
a
that
good
to where
question.
raffles are mentioned. That this is
Bingo
the
considered.
first group that's mentioned that they did bingo in AUW. I think that they're
Raffle.
pretty
In-
common some other kinds.
When you Google it, there is a very long PDF explaining the law.
No
Okay.
Well,
doubt.
I read it, but it was really hard to understand. They didn't necessarily, I don't remember if they said bingo.
Well,
They
we
said
were,
raffles.
well,
Yeah.
we worked, yeah, we know about raffles, but we worked actually with a organization. It was at a retirement community where they do bingo every week.
Yeah.
And we used their hall and we got a permit with their help to get the permit.
Okay.
So I think that if
Wow.
we had to have anything else, we would have known. It was just the raffle that took us by surprise.
Yeah, now the raffle does require, and it's a raffle if the state says it's a raffle. It's sort of like the IRS defines what a scholarship is. If it's not going to be taxable to the recipient, California, defines what a raffle is. And the only way, an opportunity drawing would be like you buy a ticket for a luncheon and they hand you a raffle ticket at no additional charge, and you have an opportunity to win whatever they're giving for the raffle. It might be the centerpiece on your table or something like that, but you're not paying for that raffle ticket. As soon as they have to pay for the raffle ticket itself, it's a raffle.
Okay. So
Great.
I'm just
And
still,
Doreen, I
I
see
don't
that-
know if we have an answer on the bingo yet. Am I not clear
Oh,
on whether we got
it
an
looks-
answer?
Well, it looks like Doreen has posted a link to something that has bingo in the name. So I think we can open that up and see.
Will
see what
be
it gives
specific.
us. Yeah.
So if you want to hold a bingo, you have to do that state form in advance. I'm not talking about the city. I'm just talking about the state form that requires that for the fundraising raffles and stuff. So, or gambling or whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
is that a yes or no?
Well,
Well-
there's 7
well-
pages of instructions here.
Yeah,
so-
we'll put that up specifically as part of the answer to the question.
Okay, thank you, because
I'll
I read
summarize
that.
it,
I just
saying
found it
here,
really
you
hard
read
to
the 7
understand.
pages. Now,
But you have
it's,
to do it in advance also. You're supposed to do it like 90 days in advance. And so we have people that want to say, well, why don't we have a bingo and, charge, $50 and we buy the food for 25 as a fundraiser. And that's a fun thing for people to do. And it doesn't require a lot of work, but not if you haven't filed your paperwork in advance. So anyway,
well,
answer
anybody
to
else
follow.
want to share? We got about 2 minutes. Anybody have an event they thought really did not work well and why? Oh, good. I don't see any hands raised. So, yes, Sigrid, do you have a? No, no, that's good. Everybody had some success with their events they did. And your bingo sounds successful in multiple ways because it was a real good bonding event for the branch.
Yep.
It brought in non-members and some of them joined, and it raised, significant money to be used by the branch. So those things are all good. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining and sharing your experiences.
Oh,
These will all be recorded. Oh,
I'm so sorry. Can I stick in one more comment about the bingo? What really helped was in all of our advertisements and our tickets and everything, we made it clear that this was a fundraising event for scholarships to our local community college. Because
excellent.
it was money for our scholarship fund for our local community college. And so for everybody in Fremont, they said, oh, for Ohlone College. Well, my daughter's niece's friend goes to Ohlone, whatever. So that's really important, is to have a specific fundraising goal.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is extremely helpful. It motivates people. Not only are they going to have a good time and have the opportunity to win chocolate, which would send me there. And other thing is it's going for a good cause. And so that really motivates a lot of people to participate. Now, once you say that that's where the fundraising is going, that's what you have to do. But I'm sure that was the reason, and that's
That
what
was the intent. Yeah.
Yeah. And Becky, just you're from the Fremont branch, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy and I are both in the Fremont branch. Yeah.
Okay, great. And Doreen, I see you're got your hand up again.
Yeah, can you just drop the link to the slide deck in the chat?
Yes, yes.
Great idea.
There are people who should have been here today.
Yeah. We try to use the slide deck as a reference item. It's hard to listen or watch the hour and a half presentation if you're just looking for one thing. So hopefully the slide deck has made references to an area where you can find it or it's already on the slide deck. Yes, Sharon?
I just wanted to share that I'm one of those people that are a 501c4, and I had a very challenging time getting my sales permit. And at some future time, if others have that experience or run into problems, I'm not an expert, but I know now a little bit more than when I got started.
When you requested your sales permit, what numbers did they want?
It wasn't the numbers, it was the documentation that I needed to provide. I had to submit our bylaws as they relate to national. I had to submit the little form that I get when we send in our, is it our 990 to the national, showing that we're an affiliate.
The 199?
Yeah, whatever it is, we send
Okay, the 990 in, right?
990 in. I had to submit that. I had to submit our bylaws. So, and that was just a few of the things. Because I talked with person and agency. Nobody knew what to do with me until I finally got someone who was very helpful. But I now do have a sales permit.
Very good. So you went to CDTFA?
Yes.
Yeah. That is one government department that seems to be quite well staffed.
Well, I had one, well, I don't want to go into my sales.
That's to a lot of them, right?
I found one person that finally that was very helpful, very accommodating.
Yeah.
And I just actually completed the process a couple of weeks ago and I started in October.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember Sharon speaking with you. So yes,
I'm the sad little person.
yeah. So
Glad it finally worked out.
and I see that Tammy would like you to get in contact with her, so you can see that in the chat. Mila, I did make note of your question about auditors. I think that's something we really have to take up on, in the finance committee. It's not a service that the state offers at this point, and obviously because it's expensive and complicated. So we will put that on the agenda for the finance committee.
All right. Thank you very much. I think this was really helpful and informative. I certainly learned a lot.
Yeah.
All right. See you at the next one. It'll be in April.